Imagine sitting across from someone you've known your entire life, maybe a spouse, a dear friend, or even your sibling. You're talking, sharing a moment, when suddenly they repeat something they just said a minute ago. Their smile seems the same, their eyes just as kind, but something deep in your chest stirs with quiet concern. You don't say anything. You brush it off. Maybe they're just tired. But that little moment lingers. And I want to gently say, you're not wrong to wonder. For millions of people around the world, over 55 million to be exact, these small, odd moments are how dementia begins. Not with a loud knock, but a whisper, a misplaced word, a forgotten date, a slight change in how they walk or talk or smile. Dementia doesn't appear overnight. It creeps in slowly, often silently. And that's why I want to talk to you about it, because catching it early can change everything. I've walked this road with many patients and families over the years, and I want you to know, noticing these early signs doesn't mean you're helpless. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Recognizing the signals early gives you and your loved ones a chance to act, to slow down the progression, to plan, to fight for your memory, your clarity, your independence. So let's begin, gently and honestly. One of the first signs we often overlook isn't about memory at all. It's about movement. Have you noticed yourself walking more slowly? Maybe you take shorter steps or you shuffle slightly. Perhaps getting up from a chair feels heavier than it should, or you lean just a little without realizing it. These small changes could be your body's way of coping with changes in the brain, particularly in areas like the frontal lobe or cerebellum, which are responsible for motor control and balance. A large study that followed over 17,000 seniors found that those who walked slower and had poorer balance were significantly more likely to develop dementia within just a few years. That means your legs may be trying to tell you something about your brain. And it's not just walking. Fumbling with utensils, dropping your coffee cup, or struggling to lift things you used to handle easily might also reflect subtle neurological shifts. And then there's depth perception. You're pouring a glass of water and it spills. You bump into furniture you've walked past for years. You hesitate on the stairs because something about them feels unfamiliar. These aren't just clumsy moments. They may be signs that your brain is struggling to process space and distance. In fact, loss of spatial awareness, especially when paired with declining sense of smell, is one of the earliest indicators of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. One fascinating study showed that seniors who couldn't identify familiar scents like coffee, mint, or orange were 5 times more likely to develop dementia within 5 years. Your senses are all connected to your brain, and when they start to change, whether it's hearing conversations getting harder to follow or background noise becoming overwhelming, it's often not just about the ears. A large study even linked midlife hearing loss to a higher risk of dementia, likely because the brain has to work harder to interpret sounds, leaving fewer resources for memory and thinking. Another sign that people often dismiss is weakening grip strength. If opening jars or carrying groceries feels harder than it used to, pay attention. Your muscles and your brain share a strong connection. One study involving over 160,000 older adults found that weaker grip strength was directly associated with higher risk of cognitive decline. For every 5-kilogram drop in grip strength, the risk of developing dementia rose by 16%. That's no small thing. Frailty, exhaustion, and avoiding movement all contribute to a shrinking brain, quite literally. And if your days are slower, your nights may be speaking too. Poor sleep is not just tiring. It's a potential cry from your brain for help. Restless nights, waking up at 1, 3, 4:30 in the morning, these interruptions aren't harmless. Especially if you find yourself acting out dreams, talking or moving in your sleep, or waking up feeling confused. These may be signs of REM sleep behavior disorder, which is linked to higher dementia risk, particularly in conditions like Lewy body dementia. Good sleep is when the brain clears out toxic proteins that build up during the day. Without this deep rest, the brain becomes clogged, increasing the risk of Alzheimer's. If you or someone you love suddenly needs naps during the day or begins waking up confused at night, don't ignore it. It might not just be age, it might be an early clue. Then there's something more emotional, yet just as important: apathy. I'm not talking about sadness or depression. This is different. It's when the light of interest in life dims. Maybe you used to love gardening, watching baseball, or meeting friends on Sundays, but now you don't feel like doing any of it. You're not sad, just uninterested. That quiet emotional withdrawal is a red flag. Apathy can show up as a lack of reaction, less smiling, fewer tears, even seeming distant in a room full of loved ones. It's not moodiness. It's not a phase. It's the brain's motivation centers slowing down. And when that happens, people often begin to isolate themselves, another dangerous pathway toward cognitive decline. Of course, one of the signs most people associate with dementia is memory loss. But again, it's not just forgetting names or where you left your keys. It's more specific. It's forgetting you even lost your keys, or asking the same question over and over again without realizing you just asked it. People may start to miss appointments, forget entire conversations, or tell the same story multiple times, genuinely unaware they're repeating themselves. This short-term memory loss is particularly alarming because, while long-term memories from decades ago might stay intact, new information just doesn't stick. That's why forgetting to take medications, leaving the stove on, or misplacing money becomes more common. These aren't simple slip-ups. They can become dangerous. Another key sign is disorientation, not remembering what day it is or whether it's morning or evening, getting lost in familiar places, dressing inappropriately for the weather. These are more than just aging quirks. They show that the brain is losing its internal compass. And when someone starts talking about people long gone as if they just saw them yesterday, it's heartbreaking but important to acknowledge. Eventually, this disorientation can lead to repetitive questions. You've already answered it kindly, but they ask again and again. It's not to annoy or test you. It's because the brain simply didn't record your answer. This loop of repeated questions is one of the most common early symptoms and can be a source of confusion for both sides. Sometimes things escalate further. Some individuals begin experiencing hallucinations, seeing or hearing things that aren't there. These episodes are more common in certain types of dementia and often begin subtly. A shadow out of the corner of the eye, a voice in another room. At first they might even seem benign, but they're not imaginary. They're neurological. Later still, there may be incontinence, not just a physical issue, but a neurological one. The brain forgets how or when to go, or forgets where the bathroom even is. This is often the point when families realize that at-home care may no longer be enough. It's a deeply emotional moment, but one that deserves compassion, not shame. But now let me pause and take a breath with you, because everything I've just shared can feel overwhelming, heavy, maybe even frightening. And yet, this is where hope lives. Because knowing these signs gives us power. Knowing what to look for means we can act. We can build routines that protect the brain. We can seek support early. We can start small and build resilience from the inside out. It begins with movement. Just walking, 30 minutes a day. Nothing fancy. Just you and your feet and the world outside. Then look at what you're feeding your brain. Diets rich in leafy greens, berries, fish, whole grains, and healthy fats, like the Mediterranean or MIND diets, have been shown to reduce dementia risk significantly. Sleep matters. Make it a priority. Create a bedtime routine. Limit screens. Keep your room dark and cool, because during deep sleep, your brain does its cleaning. Without it, toxins pile up and cells suffer. Challenge your mind. Try a new hobby. Solve puzzles. Learn a language. Take a music class. The more you force your brain to adapt, the more new pathways it forms. And that quite literally keeps it young. And don't ignore your medical conditions. High blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, sleep apnea. These aren't just body issues, they're brain issues too. The more you manage them, the better chance you have of staying sharp. But above all, stay connected. Talk to people. Laugh with them. Share meals, tell stories. Human connection is more than comforting. It's neurologically protective. Isolation is a breeding ground for decline. But companionship, love, friendship, that's your shield. Now, you may have heard in the news that science is beginning to fight back. And it's true. New drugs like lecanemab and donanemab have shown promise in slowing the progression of Alzheimer's. They're not cures, but they're not just symptom-masking tools either. They target the underlying biology, the sticky plaques that interfere with brain function. Clinical trials have shown these medications can slow decline by up to 27%. And even more exciting, researchers are exploring therapies that aim to not just delay dementia, but repair parts of the brain. Gene therapy, immune-based treatments, deep brain stimulation. We're entering a new era, one filled with possibility. But for any of this to work, for medication, for therapy, for lifestyle change, it all starts with awareness, with those quiet moments when something doesn't feel right. When you notice a shift in the way someone walks or speaks or smiles, if you're here reading this, it means you're already doing what most don't. You're paying attention. You care. You're not turning away. And that's the most powerful thing you can do. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to support you, to walk beside you, to tell you that even in the face of something as daunting as dementia, you are not alone. There are paths forward. There are ways to protect what matters most. So stay curious, stay active, stay connected, and never, ever underestimate the strength that lives in your smallest choices. Every walk you take, every friend you call, every time you decide not to ignore a sign. That's how we fight dementia. Not in fear, but in quiet, steady action. And remember, the best time to care for your brain was yesterday. But the second best time is right now. If this message resonated with you, please leave a comment and let me know which signs stood out the most, or share a story from your own life. I'd love to hear it. And if you found this helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to Senior Health Tips. Together, we can build a future where aging doesn't mean fading, it means thriving. The best time to protect your brain was yesterday. The second best time is right now.